If Levi Ackerman, anime's #1 short king, existed in real life, how would he need to train in order to hone his lightning-fast reflexes, build the incredible strength needed to properly pilot the 3D maneuvering gear, and develop elite-level explosive power? Well, I'm Paris Demers, a full-time personal trainer / anime fitness nerd, and today we're going to be putting on our smartest glasses and answering all those questions using science, baby. Then I'll be giving you a full workout program so you yourself can train like Captain Levi. Let's get after it. The thing that makes Captain Levi so deadly is his incredible speed paired with his strategic and ruthless mind in battle. But he would be almost completely useless against the Titans if it wasn't for what is probably the coolest piece of tech in anime history, the 3D maneuvering gear. This tech essentially turns you into a giant razor blade wielding version of Spider-Man. By using gas-powered mechanisms and grappling hooks to propel yourself through the air and effortlessly swing between buildings and trees. It lets its users navigate complex environments with incredible agility, making them super mobile and ready to do crazy shit like this. But using this gear in real life without completely destroying your spine wouldn't be easy.
I broke my back.
Because the 3D maneuvering gear is primarily connected to your body by the hips. When you engage the gas-powered mechanism to pull yourself towards whatever you're hooked into, your hips will be pulled forward first, with the rest of your body following after them. At low speeds of acceleration, this wouldn't be an issue. But if you're forced to rapidly accelerate forwards, let's say maybe because you're on Santa's naughty list and he's coming to collect, then as you quickly dart away from Mr. Claus using the 3D maneuvering gear, your hips will be yanked forward, while your spine and your head momentarily lag behind, before they're abruptly whipped forward to catch up with the rest of your body and your hips. This kind of movement at high speeds would generate an immense amount of shear force on your spine, which could have severe consequences. You can essentially think about shear forces as any force that pushes horizontally against your spine. To better understand shear force and its impact on the spine, let's first compare it to compressive forces. Compression refers to the force that's pressing down on the spine, pushing the vertebrae closer together. This force is usually well tolerated by your spine, as it's built to support your body's weight and can efficiently distribute compressive forces. However, shear force is a different story. Shear force acts parallel to the spine, causing the vertebrae to slide or shift relative to one another. Unlike compression, the spine isn't as well equipped to handle shear forces, particularly when they're applied suddenly and with great intensity, as would be the case when using the 3D maneuvering gear. This is why many people injure their backs as their hips shoot up during the squat, because in a split second, the barbell goes from applying a large amount of compressive force to your back to applying a large amount of shear force. When our spine faces too much shear force, several issues can occur. Disc herniations is one of the biggest concerns. This happens when the soft center of the spinal discs is pushed out, causing pressure on nearby nerves, leading to pain, numbness, and weakness. Not exactly something that you want to happen when a bunch of monsters are running around trying to eat you. In extreme cases, high shear forces can even fracture your vertebrae, leading to potential spinal cord damage. So users of the 3D maneuvering gear would be at high risk for these type of spinal injuries due to the intense and repeated application of shear forces during high-speed acrobatic maneuvers. Could you imagine if that's how Levi got taken out? Not by some crazy strong titan, but by the most deadly real-life villain there is: chronic lower back pain. To prevent this embarrassing fate, Levi would need to follow a comprehensive core training routine. One that trains his core to stay in a static, stable position as external forces attempt to extend, rotate, flex, and laterally flex his spine. There's a lot of different ways our spines can move, and for each different way, there is a different muscle group that prevents that type of movement. So to make sure Levi doesn't break his spine as he's zipping around with a 3D maneuvering gear, he would need to perform movements like banded dead bugs to prevent spinal extension, deadlifts to prevent spinal flexion, single arm carries to prevent lateral spinal flexion, and peel-off presses to prevent spinal rotation. Because again, if you want a strong overall core, you need to train all these different muscles to be able to control the position of the spine. If you guys are liking the video and want me to do one on how to get a body like Eren Yeager next, leave a like, subscribe, and comment Eren down below. But this comprehensive core training wouldn't just save Levi from injury, it would also greatly increase his power output. And this is all because of the relationship between proximal stability and distal mobility. Proximal stability refers to the strength and stability of the body's core, which includes the muscles surrounding the spine, pelvis, and shoulders. Distal mobility, on the other hand, refers to the ability to move and control the extremities, such as arms and legs, with power and precision. A strong and stable core would allow Levi to generate and transfer force more efficiently from his center to his limbs. For example, imagine Levi doing his signature Sonic the Hedgehog impression. The movement starts at his core, as he rotates his torso and transfers the power that's generated through his shoulders, arms, and finally to his swords. This chain of motion allows for a more powerful and precise attack, so that Levi can collect as many golden rings as possible. Of course, it wouldn't just be Levi's core that needs to be highly conditioned. He would also need incredible grip, shoulder, and arm strength, and endurance to be able to handle his razor-sharp swords with precision in a prolonged fight. he would need to train the muscles of his neck in order to prevent getting whiplash while getting whipped around by the 3D maneuvering gear. And he would also need to be incredibly well conditioned from a cardiovascular standpoint, not only so he can keep the assault going non-stop, but also so his body could be more tolerant of the potential high G-forces he would encounter while operating the 3D maneuvering gear at high speeds. But all of Levi's peak physical performance would disappear in the blink of an eye if it wasn't for his godlike reaction time, as he would simply just slam into a tree as he was whipping through the Titan forest at like 80 miles per hour, and that would be it. But for real, Levi wouldn't be able to fight like he does without insanely fast reaction time and the ability to make strategic decisions in the blink of an eye. But how could he develop these traits in real life? Well, human reflexes play a crucial role in determining one's reaction time, which is the ability to respond quickly to a stimulus. Human reflexes are controlled by our nervous system, which is responsible for receiving sensory information, processing it, and coordinating a response by the body. When a stimulus is detected, sensory receptors send signals to the brain through nerve cells or neurons. The brain then processes this information and quickly sends back a signal to the muscles, instructing them to react accordingly. But these signals take time to move around the body and don't happen instantaneously. So there is a hard limit to how quickly the human body can detect and then react to a stimulus. But even with this being the case, there's still a lot you can do to make your reaction time as fast as possible. Drills like the ball drop can facilitate the type of neurological adaptations that enable faster and more efficient neural communications, which allow us to process information and react more quickly. And of course, by relentlessly practicing key aspects of combat, like hooking onto a Titan's neck and then propelling towards them to cut out their nape. By practicing these skills, Levi would develop his muscle memory to the point where these skills become second nature. This would enable him to perform actions more efficiently and with less conscious effort, freeing up cognitive resources to focus on reacting to external stimuli, such as the movements of other Titans in the area. But of course, thanks to the principle of specificity, there is nothing that'll help you develop your reaction time faster than actually practicing in the activity, sport, or combat situation that you're trying to improve your reaction time for. Because with enough experience on the court or on the battlefield, you'll actually be able to start telling the future. Through years of practice and experience, athletes or soldiers like Levi can actually start to recognize patterns and anticipate events in their sport or on the battlefield. This anticipation allows them to react more quickly because they can predict what is likely to happen next. A real-world example of athletes telling the future through anticipation and pattern recognition can be seen in soccer. A seasoned goalkeeper, through years of experience and practice, can learn to read the body language and movements of an opposing player as they approach for a penalty kick. By recognizing subtle cues and patterns, the goalkeeper may predict the direction and trajectory of the kick before it even happens, allowing them to react more quickly and increase their chances of blocking the shot. Anticipation and pattern recognition is actually why the abnormal Titans are so feared in Attack on Titan. The soldiers in the Survey Corps have gotten so used to fighting regular Titans that it's essentially programmed into their brains. So when they face an abnormal Titan, they're not only fighting against the Titan, but actually fighting against their own brains as habits kick in and how they should fight it, which actually becomes a hindrance when they're fighting against these Titans that have abnormal movement patterns. Another couple ways of improving your reaction time is by making sure your brain has an appropriate amount of glucose kicking around that it can use for fuel, and also by ingesting caffeine. So if the scouts really wanted humanity's greatest soldier to be performing at peak levels, Levi would have his very own tea brewing division that'd follow him around into battle with the sole mission of making sure their captain has a steady supply of black tea with honey in it to give him the caffeinated glucose boost that he needs to give his heart for humanity. Okay, now there are a million other things that Levi would need to address in his real-life training program, like developing explosive leg drive, training to increase his resistance to injury, and also doing acrobatic/parkour training. But since I don't want this video to be 4 hours long, I'm just going to sum it all up in this 5-day-a-week Levi Ackerman athletic training plan that you can download and follow yourself completely for free by using the link in the description of this video. Now, this is a pretty advanced in-gym routine, so if you're a beginner and want to start training at home, you should follow my 17-week at-home training plan instead. Link also down below. Now make sure you leave a like and go check out my video on how Baki would train in real life, and I'll see you there.